What's up? What's up? It's Raphael with NBA Draft Junkies. I have a special guest. I know people are always like, dang, you always say you got a special guest, but this is a real special guest. This is like a person who I've known and kind of built a relationship with over the years. It's my guy, Alex Pugh. What's up, man?
What's up, man? Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no problem. So I was thinking, like, did I meet you when I was working for the Legends? Is that where we met?
I do believe we met when you were working with the Legends. And I was thinking about that earlier. I was like, dang, when did we truly meet? But I do recall, to my memory, I believe you was with the Legends at the time.
Yeah, for those that don't know, my start with professional basketball was with the Texas Legends. I had a very, very brief stint with the LA Clippers, but I won't count that because I got fired after like 3 days because I had a no call, no show because my car broke down on my way to I had to go to like this. It was bogus. So I had to I got a job as an intern, right? And to be an intern, I had to get class credit. So I'm a grown man. I went to a community college and took PE so I can get class credit for this Clippers internship, right? So here I am, a grown man playing kickball at this community college PE, and I got to go to the teacher like, hey, can you sign up on this paperwork so I can take it in and get credit for it? He's like, man, you taking my class just for a credit? And I'm like, yeah. And he wasn't really feeling that. So anyway, one day I had to go to pick up the paperwork to take back to the Clippers. And it was like, LA's expensive. I was living out there at the time. Then, I was living by myself. And then while I was in LA, the Clippers internship was so demanding, you had to like work every game day, which is like 41 nights out the year, but you had to be there during the day also. And I was like a PR intern, but the plan was if I do well in the PR internship, they will let me go to the basketball operations side. Well, on my like second or third day, it was just bad luck. My car stopped. And when my car stopped, like the engine went out and I couldn't even charge my phone. And then I tried to call in and, I couldn't get through directly. Then once I finally got through, it was like, man, you did a no call, no show. You're done. So I ended up like moving back to Texas. I lost the internship. Then they told me it's like $20,000 to fix the engine on my car. I was like, damn, I ain't got no money. So I ended up taking an unpaid internship with the Texas Legends. And then from there, that was like a life-changing for me because the Legends were new. They barely had a staff. And I was like, man, I'll do whatever. So, man, I was driving the team van. I was washing clothes. I was filming practices. Man, I was just doing whatever grunt work. So, but now let's get to your mock draft.
Yeah.
This is different. Let's just get right into it.
Let's get right into it.
The Minnesota Timberwolves. If you are the Minnesota Timberwolves, explain to me or tell me who is your number one pick and explain why.
If I'm the Minnesota Timberwolves, my number one pick is Obi Toppin. I think this draft doesn't have necessarily a true defined best player, but I think everything in which Obi brings to the table, he can shoot it a little bit, his athleticism, the NBA moving or some teams playing a small ball game, just his versatility. He can play in space, he can post up, he can play beside Karl Towns. If Karl Towns he can pass. If Karl Towns needs to go out, he can play the small ball five. So I love his versatility with his ability to play in space, play on the out the pick and roll, operate in the dunker. I just think it's so much that you can do with them. So, yeah, I like Obi.
All right. So what about the fit defensively? Can you play him and Cat together?
I think so. Ultimately, rebound the ball. The NBA, it's a weird game. Obviously, teams are defending, but at the same time, when you're not able to hand check and put your hands in touch and things of that nature, it's hard to defend in the league regardless of the position. So I'm more, what does he bring to the table offensively? And I like his skill set. I like his will set. I like his athleticism. Put on the floor. Defense, I think I don't ignore it, but I don't put as much stock and value as some other people might.
Clearly. Because, like Obi Toppin I think he might have the widest range in this draft, listening to other people, like, make their big boards. Like, number one is the highest. I've seen him, but I've seen him, like, 5, 15. Some people don't think he's a lottery pick, and they just feel that way strictly based off of his defense. Like, nobody questions his offensive game like you shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on record of saying I think he's the best or most complete offensive player in this draft and most NBA ready right now. I think he can win Rookie of the Year because he's more polished. I mean, he's older than the rest of the guys in his class, but I think that he's the most NBA ready right now on the offensive end of the floor.
And I'm glad you said that, because it's like, in my mind, the NBA is an offensive game. It's points driven, it's stats driven, in the variety of ways in which Obi can put it in the basket, especially in comparison to the other guys in the draft. It's like, you gotta draft offense. That's what the game has become. So him being like, if you feel if he's the best offensive player in the draft, how is he not, kind of in that first tier?
Well, I think the reason for me is because if you look at, like, teams in the playoffs, in which I don't think Minnesota's a playoff team. So, but if they do get to the point in the playoffs, you see guys like, Michael Porter Jr., where at one point they couldn't really play him because they were just picking on him every play in Utah. They was putting him in, like, ball screens. I think at one point it was something crazy, like the Jazz were shooting like 66% when Michael Porter was guarding somebody, or even, like, to another extent. I remember, speaking of the Jazz, which, I mean, like, you work with Quinn, and one of the things I like about Quinn is that if he sees, like, a weakness, he's going to attack it. And so
he's going to attack it.
2018, the year they played the Thunder in the playoffs, and they literally put Melo in pick and roll every single time with Donovan Mitchell, every single play. And so so I said all that to say this. So I wonder, like, if Obi Toppin is one of your best players, and if you're in the playoffs, a guy like Quinn Snyder is going to make you as a coach decide, do we keep running through Obi, or do we have to – because if you – like, if, he would attack Towns and Toppin, and so he'll put you in a position where, okay, you can't play both of them together. And I felt like they put Michael Porter Jr. in a position where they had to play Millsap more, even though Porter was bringing more on the offensive end.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see that happening with Toppin.
And I'm sure at some point it will. I just hope, I'm betting on his offense, kind of, once again, bringing more value than the defensive end of the floor.
I respect it. Like, you gave me a really valid reason of why. I'm not saying other guys haven't, but the point that you drove, it makes sense. Nobody can really check anybody. So might as well just go all in on offense.
Go all in.
Makes sense. All right, number 2, Golden State Warriors. Who's your number 2 for them?
Golden State. And see, truth be told, I was praying Golden State got the number one just because I wanted to see if they would take Obi. Because I thought, like I said, I think he's a plug and play. But Golden State falling to number two. I think you got to take Anthony Edwards once again. Offense, man. You know what I'm saying? Scoring will always be supreme. So guys that can put it in the basket at a high clip, once again, can dribble, shoot, and pass. He has sufficient length, but he has the athleticism. He has the frame, the body. Obviously, he has a long way to go to develop as a player, just being able to really, really use his gifts, get downhill, attack off the bounce, use his athleticism, just be more creative than just being a guy that just want to shoot the long ball. But the way the Warriors play at the tempo, the free flow, I think that'll be a system that he can learn and flourish.
Right. So one of the things I failed to mention during your introduction is that you have a lot of experience from the AAU side. And, you know, you're kind of well known in the Houston area on the AAU and the prep circuit. So did you ever get a chance to watch Anthony when he was in high school?
Anthony came to Houston in high school. He came to Houston, and I don't remember the exact team in which they played, but Anthony Edwards and his high school team played 2 games here in Houston. I did see him in high school.
So what did you think of him in high school? No, was it one of those situations where his team went to one of these big time tournaments and got blown out? Because I saw that happened.
The first game he didn't deliver. It was kind of like, this is what everyone is calling the number one. But game 2, he came and he delivered. You know what I'm saying? Big shots, deep shots, and ones. It was like, okay, he's a man amongst boys. Like, yeah, he's certified. You know what I'm saying? So you got to see players more than once. Because if you would have just saw him that first game, you would have been highly upset. Obviously, it's a lot of hype surrounding players nowadays, especially at the grassroots level. But he wasn't hyped. You know what I'm saying? Like, first game, I don't really know how to identify what to call it. But game 2, it was get your popcorn because it was a show. It was a show.
All right, so if he goes to Golden State, do you see him being like their 6th man?
I think for starters, yes. Because obviously they have a very deep team, especially on the wing with Klay Thompson, Wiggins, and Steph. So I think initially he would have to kind of be that 6th man.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, because I wonder, based off of now, you know, we don't know who they're going to sign in free agency or whatever. I would say Draymond is obviously going to be the 4, Wiggins the 3, Klay, Steph. And if they go with Chris at the 5. Now, do you think that James Wiseman would fit more of a need? Or do you believe that you can get the similar production out of Chris and then get, you know, more scoring with Ant as your 6th man?
I do think you can get more from Edwards, especially immediately, because he's wired to score. You know, when he touches the floor, we don't have to guess what he's gonna bring. We know he's bringing a high-powered offensive game. With Wiseman, bigs just take longer to develop, just adjusting to the tempo, adjusting to the physicality. Wiseman has an amazing skill set, being able, once again, dribble, shoot, and pass as a 7-footer with tremendous length, you know. But for the Warriors, who I think they are going for it, they're not coming in for development purposes. Like, they're coming in to get back to the Western Conference Finals, get back to the finals, trying to hang another banner. So you gotta pick which way you want to approach it. Do you want to take 2-3 years to develop, or do you want to bring this guy, give him minutes, develop him through the season, and know what you have to go with come postseason play.
All right, now, did you get a chance to watch him play in high school, in AAU, grassroots?
Wiseman?
Yeah.
I did not get a chance to see Wiseman play at the grassroots level.
Because he played in the EYBL, right? Did he play for?
He played in the EYBL.
Team Penny? And you were Adidas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was on that at that time. Yeah, I was the last affiliation I was with. I was on the Adidas side.
Okay. What's crazy with me, man, I've been gone so much. I've seen more of the international players in this draft class than I have the American guys. Like all the American guys I've seen, if I saw them, that means I saw them at an international tournament, like the 2019 under 19 tournament in Greece. But I've seen more so the international guys because I've spent more time abroad the last few years. So it's kind of weird that it's the opposite. All right,
that's a great learning experience. I look forward to one day seeing going over there and really being able to dive into the European brand of basketball.
But it's tough to project because so you watch a guy, you're like, dang, all right, he's nice on this level. And then you go back and then you watch high school AAU games and you're like, all right, how would he fit in that situation? And then when you see them play, if it's an opportunity where they play against the US, they're usually like overwhelmed because the US team is going to have 9-10 athletes. And they got this one guy from his country that totally stands out, and they're bringing, multiple waves of defenders at him. So it's kind of tough to determine. I mean, like the best player I've ever seen on like the prep circuit or play against USA, I mean, you can look it up. It was RJ Barrett, like destroyed Team USA in 2017.
Yeah.
30-something. But even then, like, he seemed like he was so much better than everybody at that stage in that tournament. But then when he got to the NBA, he wasn't even – I don't think he made first-team all-rookie.
Was not good enough.
It's weird. Like, you would think that Tyler Hero might be a better player long-term than RJ Barrett. I mean, it could be, being a prisoner of the moment, but that's a whole different story.
For sure.
So
it's a lot of different variables.
Right, but I'm predicting, I'm hoping that you'll be back on soon and we can talk about all those different variables.
I look forward to it.
All right, so let's go to number 3, Charlotte Hornets. We've talked about Wiseman, and so you think Wiseman would be a good fit there?
I do. I think obviously Charlotte is rebuilding. They have some really talented guards. The big situation, it's kind of been hit or miss for the last 5-6 years. Obviously, they had Bismack,
Miss
Hernan Gomez. So it's no true staple. So I think
what's my man's name? Zeller? Is it no? Is it
Zeller? Yeah, Zeller was over there. He was over there too.
He was a 5th pick, 4th or 5th pick.
Yikes. You can't afford to miss. When you got a lottery pick, you can't afford to miss. It set your franchise back for years to come.
Yeah, I mean, you can say they messed up with MKG. They messed up with Zeller. That was number 2, number 5. Yeah, I mean, I think did they draft Bismack or was he? They did because the year I was in Charlotte, they had Cody and they had Bismack. I mean, they hit with Kimba.
Yeah.
But
they hit with Kimba.
They've
just couldn't put nothing beside them.
And you can say Malik Monk. That hasn't worked out well for them also. So they need they definitely need to strike it big on this pick right here. So you think Wiseman will be the guy?
Worth the gamble. Obviously he has some learning to do for the NBA game, but I mean a big that can shoot it always has a different level of value. He can play in space. He can play running the DHO, moves well, runs the floor well. Enough athleticism, especially when combined with his length. Rim protector. So I do believe that could be a really, really good fit for Wiseman. Because
Do
he'll
you
be
think,
able to, just kind of soar, open his wings, and just fly.
yeah. Do you think that they have the guards to get him the ball?
I do. I like Terry Rozier. I know he didn't have the best year this year. Devontae Graham played phenomenal, but I think the guards that they do have, they're willing and able passers, and that's most important. Some guys can't make that pass. They want to, what I'm saying? They see it and they want to deliver it, but they just aren't physically capable of delivering that pass with proper timing, in the pocket where, just precision passing. So I do believe Devontae Graham and Terry Rozier are both more than able to facilitate the basketball.
Now, do you think that PJ can play the 5?
PJ who?
Washington.
No.
Because it's a small ball league. But I was wondering, if they went another direction, if they took a wing, could they put PJ after 5?
It's not a recipe for success. Small ball, it has its time throughout the course of a game. You can go small and really, really change the tempo. If you're behind, catch up, because obviously it's a lot of threes and you can just play at a different tempo. But as far as long-term success, I don't believe you can play 5 guards or 5 wings and truly, truly go win a championship.
If you're Charlotte, you're just trying to get to the HC. You figure that out later.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I like the Wiseman
talent
fit.
available.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely have to swing for the fences here. I don't think they have the luxury of being able to butcher this draft. All right, number 4, Chicago Bulls. This is another pick. This is the highest I've seen this prospect. So what do you have for Chicago?
For Chicago, looking at Chicago's roster, they don't have a specific direction that they have to go. So for Chicago, I have them taking Devin Vasell. I like his versatility. He can dribble, shoot, and pass. He has the athleticism. He has the tenacity on the defensive end to really, really guard his yard. And I just think for an NBA wing, he's ideal. Like I said, he has the ability to make a shot. He has the ability to tomahawk on top of the rim, rebound at a high level. And the NBA, people can look at college, but college and the league are 2 total different games.
Yep.
He might not have the tightest handle when we're talking at the collegiate level, but at the NBA level, with the NBA spacing, the defensive rules, and the development, I'm pretty sure he'll spend time in the G League, but end of the day, he makes shots. A wing that makes shots, has the athleticism, can do a little bit, putting it on the deck, making plays for others. I'm going to take that every time.
See, I think that Chicago would be a good fit for him because he doesn't necessarily need the ball.
Exactly.
And they have a lot of guys that need the ball and they need their touches. I think that I feel like he needs to work on his handle because I think –
for sure.
And I've been saying it the past few podcasts. I think his ceiling – I'm sorry, not his ceiling. I think his floor might be Trevor Ariza. Not bad. Trevor Ariza's played a long time.
Not bad at all. NBA champion.
Right. But I think his ceiling could be like a Paul George if he worked on the handle, worked on creating his own shot. Like right now, I've watched all his film. It's 2 dribbles, pull up. If he drives hard, you step in front of him, spin move, pull up. Like he doesn't really have more than a 2 dribble package. I wonder is because he doesn't have it or is it because he's so light he can't take the contact and get all the way to the rim. Because I noticed once he does get to the basket, he kind of throws up off-balance shots or fades, but he has the touch. So to me, for him to reach his maximum potential, I think that he needs to be able to attack the rim more because he doesn't get to the free throw line.
But that's the benefit of the NBA spacing. Just being a straight line driver, opportunities when he does come off the pick and roll, when that time comes, I think his explosiveness. I believe, I tell myself he'll be able to get there and finish. I kind of view him like you named some really good names: Trevor Ariza, Paul George. I like to even think of like a Andre Iguodala. Obviously, he's a better shooter than Iggy, but just that versatile wing that can do a lot of different things on the floor to make positive plays.
See, I think the difference between him and Iggy was Iggy was playing like point forward.
Iggy was playing the point.
Yeah, but I think that I think Vasell has one of the highest ceilings in this draft. But he has a high ceiling to me. But I think that he's a very, very safe pick. And his floor is still a 10-year NBA starter.
Right. And then you think about what he's going to bring on the defensive end, gaining extra possessions, playing the passing lanes, chase down blocks, just being a pest. Like I really like Vasell.
Right. I think that's a good pick. All right, so Cleveland, number 5.
Cleveland, and I'm not super well versed on the European guys. I've done my research, checking Synergy, checking YouTube. I've seen, because I haven't seen these guys in person, I try and turn over every stone. And I think you can help me pronounce that. I haven't taken Deni, Avdija. How you say his last name?
Avdija. It's like the J is silent.
Avdija. I haven't taken Deni Avdija, and I just think from what I've seen, Swiss Army knife, glue, can do a lot. Once again, his versatility, can dribble, can make a shot. Probably not what he hang his hat on, but he can make a shot. Obviously, we hope to see him improve on it, but he can put it on the deck, make plays for others, make people around him better, snatch it off the glass, lead the break.
Secondary ball handler to pick and roll.
Exactly. So I think their roster is, once again, it's a funky looking roster. So they need versatility. But I haven't taken Deni Avdija.
All right. So what do you think about their backcourt with Garland and Sexton? Do you think
they need to make a decision?
What about, all right, so if they had to make a decision, do you think they can move Porter? Do you think he's the answer at the 2? Because I think Porter is super talented. And I've been on record of saying, talent for talent, skill for skill, is Anthony Edwards that much better than Kevin Porter Jr.?
No, it's not that big of a gap. And talent for talent, skill for skill, Porter Jr. might be better. You know, he has the same athleticism, the same length. I think he's a little, I don't know. I can't say he's a tougher kid because I don't know either of them personally, but I don't think it's that big of a gap where one goes number 1 and the other goes 30. But we see that disparity all the time. But I do think Porter is a long-term 2. If I had to make a decision, I'm probably looking to move Sexton. I like the guard. I like Garland as a point guard. Willing playmaker. Willing and able playmaker. I know the left-hand shooter, he was hurt a lot of last year. What's his name?
Windler.
Wilder or something like that.
Dylan Windler.
Yeah. So when they get him back, and like I said, Deni, you can kind of play him all over the floor at the 3 if you want to play him at the 4. But I think it'll give their roster some balance. But ultimately, they have to make a decision. in regards to what they're going to do with Colin Sexton and Darius Garland.
Right. So back to Porter. And I don't know. I'm not saying like I got some insider information. I don't know anything. So if, his people are watching this, I don't need them attacking me. But my question is, his intel had to have been really, really bad for him to fall that far in the draft. I know he got suspended for something at USC. To my knowledge, it never came out what he did. He didn't start at USC. But talent-wise, you can't tell me that there were 30 players better than him talent-wise last year. You can't tell me not. 10. So for him to fall that low, only thing I can think of is his intel had to have been like really, really bad.
Nobody had anything positive to say. And once again, I'm guessing. But like you said, for him to fall out of the lottery to the 30th pick where teams didn't even want to chance it, yeah, that intel, it had to be, they slid him under the bus on so many levels.
Yeah, that's maybe one day I'll be lucky enough to find out, but something just doesn't add up because, like I said, talent-wise, he's got it. As far as Sexton, I like Sexton a lot. Garland reminds me of James Wiseman in a sense that Garland struggled his rookie year because he only played maybe like 4 or 5 games in college. So it was literally like he went from high school to a season's worth of rust to the NBA. I wouldn't be shocked to see Wiseman have that same adjustment period, even though Wiseman's role would be a whole lot easier. He's not going to have to run a team and be counted on to do that. But, I still think it's difficult to go from high school, 3 games in a whole calendar year to the league. No matter how much film you watch, no matter how much you work out, how good you look you can't simulate game action.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, I know people love to say Kyrie Irving did it. Kyrie different. You know what I'm saying? Like, like that. Now you understand, like this is a bucket business. You know what I'm saying? So if you come out and who you are is getting a bucket, in time you'll figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And Kyrie, from the day he touched the league, he did not defer. It was, I'm here to get buckets, and that's what he does.
Right. I could be wrong, but I think Kyrie's situation was even different because he got hurt early in the season, but I think he came back. So he still stayed around the team the whole time. I'm not sure with either of those guys if they stayed with the team. If I'm not mistaken, they went out and prepared for the draft.
I do believe you are correct. I think both of those guys did leave to go prepare for the draft.
Yeah, which, I mean, I'm not knocking it. It makes total sense, but I think the difference is Kyrie he ended up coming back, and same with, like, Porter Jr. He stuck around. He ended up playing in the tournament. I want to say he played, like, 1 game in the tournament, maybe like a conference tournament game. And then he sat out a whole year, but I think the experience may be a little different because he was always around a team setting as opposed to just one-on-one with a trainer.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to Atlanta. You got Atlanta taking a big. So
I got Atlanta taking a big.
Yeah, I want to hear your reasons why, especially with Capella on board.
My main reason is because Atlanta I think they have a beautiful roster. The depth that they have on the wing, hopefully they're able to re-sign Jeff Teague and let him man that second unit. But they have the versatility on the wings. So taking another wing or another guard might be redundant. Obviously, up front, they have mainly Capella and Josh Collins. It just takes depth. I think speaking of, I gotta say his name, Onyeka.
Okongwu.
Help me out with that. Okongwu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's who I have Atlanta taking at 6. Big man out of USC. I just like his physicality, his ability to run the floor, his mobility, his physicality. He can make a shot in space. Obviously, you don't want to see him living out there predominantly, but he has the ability to make a shot in space, similar to John Collins. Obviously, Clint Capella is more of a rim run, pick and roll dunker, but I think the main thing for Atlanta is their bigs got to be mobile, and he has the mobility to sprint up, set good screens, roll hard. Even if he was operating in the DHO, I just think it gives them roster depth and another physical presence. I mean, we don't know exactly where Clint Capella stands with his injury, so just having another body that you can play at the 5, or I mean, he could play with Clint, he could play with John. I just like the versatility that he brings to their roster.
Do you think if they were to go in that direction, do you think they move Dedmon? Because I have to wonder, like, all right, Dedmon was with Atlanta, Trey's rookie year. He signed a big deal with Sacramento, but then they brought him back.
Mm-hmm. Then they brought him back.
And so I wonder, because they want to pick and pop threat, because that's pretty much what Dwayne does is shoot threes now. And then I wonder, was it because they felt like he was a good complement to Trey as far as like opening the floor?
I think all of the above. Good compliment, ability to make shots, but I think more so they knew who he was, and bringing him back, he knew the role that he was gonna be in. So I think it was a situation that everyone was comfortable with. If they were to draft Okongwu, absolutely, Demon ultimately probably would get moved. But hey, that's part of the business. That's the nature of the beast.
So you believe that, because you had mentioned it being redundant if they bring a wing, and I feel like no matter what position they would draft at this high in a draft, it's going to be redundant. If they take a 5, they got Capella, who's making like, I don't know, I think he signed for 70, 80. If they take a 4, 80. Same position as John Collins. If they take a 3, right, same position as Reddish or Hunter or whoever they decide is the 3. They take a 2, you take another wing. So I feel like no matter who they take, it's going to be redundant. And so in for you thought the best fit is still a 5. So I think Atlanta's going to have a tough time. I wouldn't be shocked if they trade the pick because, like you said, whoever they take is going to play the same position as somebody that they just drafted or just made a big move for.
Totally agree. And that's why, like I said, with the big man, at least he has the mobility to play at the tempo that Atlanta wants to play at, and he's a threat all over the floor. So if they ultimately decided to keep him and develop him, time in the G or however they chose to approach it, long term, I think it pays dividends.
All right. So now here we go right here. So Obi Toppin was the first shocker. I'd say Vasell to Chicago at 4 was number 2. And this is number 3. Who do you have the Detroit Pistons taking at number 7?
I have the Detroit Pistons taking Tyrese Maxey. I think they need a point guard. I think Tyrese Maxey, regardless of how anyone feels, I believe he's the best point guard in the draft. I know he gives buckets. Okay, cool. The NBA is a scoring combo guard game anyway. You know, what is a point guard? Come down, get the ball moving with that first pass. Once you come off the ball that first time, what are you anyway? You're a scoring guard. We only have 24 seconds anyway. So I'm always, once again, going to take the guy that can put that ball in the basket. Tyrese, he has the speed to break his man down and the creativeness and the hunger to get his own. He doesn't need it created for him. play out a pick and roll. I think he showed this year at Kentucky that he does have the ability to make plays for others and make guys around him better. But I think the part that makes Tyrese Maxey special is when big moments come, he gets that glow. Like some guys start glowing and some guys kind of shy away from the moment. Obviously, I'm from Texas, so I've seen Tyrese Maxey a lot.
He played for the Houston Hoops for a little while, didn't he?
He did play with the Hoops for a little while. And I mean, he's never disappointed me. Like, I think he has more athleticism than he gets credit for. Like I said, he obviously his shot is a little funky, but he makes it. It works for him. And with the development and the time to really, really craft his craft, and I think, I don't know how you don't like it. And to go a step further, Kentucky guards deliver, man. It is what it is. No matter how you feel about them individually, when they come to the league, Kentucky guards deliver. Jamal Murray, Tyler Herro, John Wall,
Bledsoe.
Bledsoe. You know what I'm saying? You can go all the way back to Rondo. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, he's not a Calipari Kentucky guard. You know what I'm saying? Jamal Murray, you know, Devin Booker. But Kentucky guards deliver, man. Like, they bred for this.
Gilgeous Alexander. And that's why I have a hard time figuring out where Tyrese goes. Because like the Michigan State game, like the first or second game of the year, he was nice. But then after that, like the shooting wasn't as good as I projected. But then you also, like you say, you got to figure Kentucky guys always end up looking better than they do, or they look better in the NBA. So you have to always consider that. But I still don't know if he's a point. But obviously you think he's a point, but even though you broke down, like once you get the ball up, then you're a scoring guard. Man, we didn't get a chance to really see him play point because he was in a situation at Kentucky where they had 3 point guard-ish type players. So here's a question for you.
Okay.
All right. So you're from Texas, obviously, so you've seen a lot of the high school guys. When R.J. Hampton and Tyrese went heads up, R.J. got the best of them. So, and I've, obviously here in Dallas, that gets brought up quite a bit because I think R.J. might have had like 30 and Tyrese had 20. So what makes you?
And I didn't see that game in person.
Okay, but word got around, and so what makes you think that? What makes you have Tyrese so much higher than RJ?
Because I love rim finishers. His ability to beat his man off the bounce, really, really apply pressure at the front of the rim.
He has great touch around the basket.
Yeah, he finished through contact. Like I said, he has the athleticism to finish with both hands, but his ability to apply pressure at that rim, his speed, his body control, just his ability to score. Some guys, they make shots, but just score. And his ability to finish around that rim, I value it probably more than others. That's something that all the point guards that I've always loved in the league, they've been really, really good at, whether it was Kyrie, his ability to finish at the rim on top of his ability to make shots, whether it's Goran Dragic, his ability, underrated finisher at the rim. One guy that I know a lot of people might not like the comparison, and it's not a disrespect to anybody mentioned, but a guy that I compare Tyrese Maxey to is Jeff Teague. Not a great shooter coming out of college, but had the speed, had the athleticism, had enough ball skills to make plays for others. And he got better.
Starting point guard on a 60-win team. Yeah.
For sure. So just the speed and his ability to score, man. I think it could be electric. Definitely game changing.
Man, you do a good job of convincing me to be like, I need to look at some film all over again. Because the stuff that you see, but when you explain it and you bring it out, it's like, dang, he is right. All right, so here's another one. Now, this is another shocker. First of all, I give you props for having the balls to say this because I know you're going to get attacked. I know the comments when I post this video are going to be like, he's crazy. What is he thinking? But
I'm okay with it.
So at number 8, you have the Knicks taking LaMelo Ball. So before I get into where your reasoning behind it, I have a tough time sometimes making my big board and my mock draft and being realistic. And
I do as well.
But that's why I really appreciate how different your board is, because the way this looks is you was like, this is just my opinion and I could care less how I think it may play out. This is my personal big board. And like I said, I struggle with it because I know I know LaMelo is probably not going to fall this low.
I agree. And every year I do mine and I always change what I think due to the rumors or due to the fact that I just know, a guy isn't going to slide. And truth be told, that's part of the dynamic with the Anthony Edwards. Like I like him. I don't love him, but I understand the value that he brings.
Right.
But yeah, that's a struggle that I think we all kind of go through because ultimately we know some guys, regardless of, they're still going to be drafted higher than the value that they truly hold.
De'Aaron Fox, Lonzo Ball.
Facts.
So why do you have LaMelo number 8?
Obviously, I saw LaMelo on the grassroots scene back when he was playing.
Like when he was 13 or something?
Yeah, he was super young. I mean, back Lonzo then was just throwing it like a football down the court, and they was catching it, letting it fly. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I tried to watch some games from him overseas. I saw a game. I went through Synergy and saw a lot of clips. I checked his percentages. Ultimately, it's the league, and everything is moving to who can make shots. LaMelo doesn't. So how we gonna knock one guy for not being a great shooter, but on the back end, we're gonna praise and promote another guy, and he's a bad shooter as well. To go a step further, I don't know what he can defend.
He was the worst defender in Australia last year.
Exactly. So we're talking about a guy that can't defend and a guy that can't make shots. Obviously, he's a wizard with the ball in his hands. Make all the reads. He has the size. He can see over the top. He can deliver it. But ultimately, once again, this is a bucket business. Can he get to the rim and finish? I don't think he can at a high clip. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, he's not the most physical kid. He doesn't play low with a low center of gravity. So when that bump comes, what comes next? So I do think over time he'll be better, but top 3, number 1, I can't take him that high.
Yeah, I agree. He's not. Well, I think I have him going higher than what I would rank him on my big board, just trying to be somewhat realistic.
Sure.
I personally think Killian Hayes is better. But, yeah, I mean, I think LaMelo's the hype that he's receiving, I don't believe that his game matches the hype. And I've said it before. We got fooled the first time, and it looks like they're going to get fooled again. I mean, LeVar had Magic Johnson talking about putting jerseys in the rafters. Yeah, Magic Johnson moved D'Angelo Russell, who's, he's been an all-star. Yeah, it was in the East, but he's still going to be a 20-point per game scorer for quite a while.
For sure.
Yeah, so I'm like, dang, LeVar got magic. He got magic with the okie doke.
He got magic.
But my question, I've been bringing it up. Are we falling for the okie doke again? Are we falling for the hype? Or are we going to be in a situation where, the money situation in the NBA, the landscape is going to change? No fan. I think they say like 40% of teams' revenue comes from, ticket sales. Does an owner say, nope, we're taking LaMelo?
I think our owner does, because, he's definitely going to move units and sell tickets. But once again, like you said, like everyone value it differently. I think his praise and his value comes from his ability to be a wizard with the ball and make guys better. Obviously, he's a very creative passer, and when he's passing the ball, yeah, it looks special. But even still,
one thing I will say is he doesn't turn the ball over.
True.
That's one thing I will say. He doesn't turn the ball over. But I know people are going to hate this. But, like, Brandon Jennings didn't turn the ball over a lot either. But his shot selection were turnovers because he took a bunch of contested pull-ups. And so – but if you look at his stats, you're like, dang, his assist-to-turnover ratio was pretty decent. I feel like a lot of LaMelo's early in the shot clock pull-up threes, especially considering that he's not a really good three-point shooter. To me, those are just as bad as turnovers in a sense. And, I've heard people say that he doesn't need to be a great shooter, but if he can be a respectable shooter with volume, then they think that he's a weapon. On one hand, I can see it, but he has to be able to do something else. Like, he'd have to be able to break down the defense consistently.
For sure.
Yeah,
So who is and to go a step further, what does he look like with league defenders? Like, people act like people aren't defending in the league, and obviously I told you where it stands with me. But ultimately, these guys are still making the effort. They still, he's going to be being guarded by, let's say, a Kelly Oubre, a guy with a 7'2" wingspan, exceptional feet, good athleticism, laterally. Like, what does he look like with league defenders? I'm not saying that he's not gonna be able to make the adjustment, but I'm just it's not enough there. And I don't have a perfect comparison for LaMelo. The guy that I have slotted beside his name, I have question marks beside it, but I have Derek White.
That's interesting. But what's funny? LaMelo draws the funniest comparisons on my comments. I was on a Knicks draft podcast, and someone compared him to 6'9".
Oh, wow.
Today, someone said he's like Kylie Jenner. He's like, I think the way he broke it down was, because you see Kylie Jenner so much, she's not the most beautiful, but you start to think she's beautiful because you see her so much. And that was his comparison for LaMelo. And then somebody else compared him to Michael Carter Williams. They said he may look good early as a rookie, but then after that, what's going to happen? And I thought that was pretty interesting because, there's not going to be a team as bad as that Philly team that Michael Carter Williams did. And I remember going to games that year as a rookie, when he was a rookie, and a player, I was like, man, Michael Carter Williams. I was like, he put up numbers. And so the player was like, He's not good, dog. He's like, look, he's not good. He's playing a lot of minutes. He said he's a guy
Yeah,
that if you give any NBA player a terrible team in 35 minutes a game, they're going to put up the same stats. He was
they're
like,
gonna get numbers.
name one thing that you saw tonight that he did well. He's like, yeah, you look at the stats, he had 15, 7, and 7. He said he did absolutely nothing and had no impact. And
I've never been a Michael Carter Williams guy.
but remember, he had like this big game against Miami and D Wade, and everybody was in love with him, or whatever. But yeah, and I thought that was an interesting comparison. I think Melo obviously is, he has more like flash to his game than Michael Carter Williams. Yeah. But that comparison really made me scratch my head a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I've wrecked my brain trying to find the perfect comparison. I've tried to Kevin Martin. Not really. So it's like there is no perfect comparison. Like I say Derek White. Obviously Derek White isn't 6'7", but he initiates, plays out the pick and roll. He can deliver the passes. Obviously he's a better shooter than LaMelo, but he's a hard guy to kind of identify comparison-wise.
My brother compared him to, he called him a 6'7" Jason Williams, 6'7" white chocolate.
See, but yeah, that's a slippery slope. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I mean, if white chocolate was 6'7", it would get scary.
Right, but white chocolate in Sacramento he was out there having fun. But then when they wanted to win, they were like,
he had to come out.
Yeah, we need a steady we need a game manager that can knock down
young
shots.
Jay Will. Yeah, that was young Jay Will.
And then they moved him for Bibby, and then they ended up competing. So I thought, like, dang, that's kind of valid too. All right, so moving on to number 9. This is another one. So I'm with you on this pick. Is it a Seattle thing? Is it a Seattle area thing where they got these guys that are like crazy talented? Because I don't think that Jaden McDaniels will go this high in the draft.
I don't
But
either.
Talent-wise, he's top 5.
Taking him.
And he's kind of like Kevin Porter to me.
Kevin Porter.
But you know what? I felt the same way about his brother. When I watched his brother last year, I was like, yo, this dude's upside could be crazy. He's skilled. He can do this and that. But it didn't, the talent and the numbers didn't, they weren't the same. So I had Jaden McDaniels top 10 at the worst at this time last year. But the numbers just didn't, the talent is there. Like you watching, you're like, okay, there's only Kevin Durant and there's maybe like 5 guys that can do what he just did. Not too many guys are that tall that are moving like that can handle and pull up. So in your opinion, why weren't the numbers and the production, why did they match the talent?
I don't even know how to answer that question. I don't know if it's a attitude. I don't know if it was culture. I don't know, because 6'9", dribble, shoot, pass. First name come to head is Paul George.
And he looks taller than 6'9" to me. He looked taller than Isaiah Stewart.
For sure. So it's like, but as numbers wise, I don't know. And he got down. Like he had games where, you know what I'm saying, but just watching him, he can do so much. But his ability, like I said 5-6 times in this since we've been recording, I value guys that can get their own. I value guys that can put the ball in the basket, So his ability to do so at 6'9", the way the league is going, small ball, he can play the 4, he can play the 3. I believe he's a 3. it's too much there. Like if it doesn't work out, okay, trade it. You know what I'm saying? But just don't give it a shot. And you need to fill that position on your roster, and it could turn out to be an amazing fit long term. I can't pass on it.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I think that where he goes is going to be like, I think that's early in his career. I want to see him go to a team with a really, really good developmental staff. I would really like to see him fall somewhere like Toronto. Even though that's way down there, Toronto has taken guys that, Siakam. I didn't even know Siakam went to high school here in Dallas.
Yes, he did.
Like, I didn't know that until he was in the league. And, at that time, I was around Dallas basketball. He must have been playing in them way off tournaments. He must have been playing in them.
And he went JUCO, and then he went to Mexico State. Yeah.
Terrence Davis, guy that came in out of nowhere to be a rotational player. Van Vliet turned into he's about to get a bag. I was gonna say this summer, but the summer's over. He's about to get a bag.
Yeah.
This winter.
In the near future, for sure.
So they've done a good job of just developing guys. I would like to see him fall there. Obviously Toronto's picking like 28, I believe. But yeah, like the talent is there. Like I just could not figure out why the talent and the production just didn't match.
And it's just growth and maturity. I think him seeing his name fall lower than where he should be, I think that'll humble you to a certain extent. Maybe it's the guys in which he run with. Maybe I don't know his background. I don't know his upbringing. I don't know him as a person. But for a team, is that a reason not to take a guy? Unless it just comes back and it's everything you hear is bad, but even still, it's something in you should want to give a guy at least a chance if you have championship aspirations. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you need a little bit of that. Not a knucklehead, but somebody with a little edge to him.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about him. Only thing I can think of is that, all right, he can shoot a little bit. I wouldn't say he's a good enough shooter to be a stretch to where you just kind of place him in the corner and just say, hey, you're going to be a stretch 4 or stretch 3. I think he's too talented for that. But I think that he needs the ball in his hands to unlock his full skill set. But his turnovers outweigh his assists by a ridiculous amount. And so I wonder.
Sometimes that's just doing too much.
Yeah, and I wonder is that the reason. It
needs to be simplified.
But yeah, that to me, that's my question about him is fit. If he was a better decision maker, then I think that you can, put him in pick and rolls and you can, run plays for him and allow him to do what he does. Because with his size, if you ran a ball screen for him and got a guard switched on him, a guard is not contesting that pull-up. There's nothing a guard can do with that. Nothing a lot of bigs can do with it because he's got the handle to throw your timing off and to be able to pull up. So I think he needs to be a better shooter.
Nightmare.
Right.
For sure.
He needs to be a better shooter, a more consistent shooter, and to kind of cut down on his turnovers. Some of his turnovers are just really head scratching. And so that's the reason why I say that he may fall, but I think just a talent wise, you got to swing for the fences, especially in this draft. If it's a draft where you figure there's no home, there's no all-stars, I don't see why a team wouldn't just swing for the fences. But he's also a guy that I think that could be – so I was in China last year, and China is full of these guys that can go out and get buckets. They just struggle with an NBA fit. For example, Marshawn Brooks. Marshawn got game.
A lot of it.
A lot of game. But he's not good enough to be the number one option in the NBA, but his game isn't also suited to be a complimentary guy. And he's in this weird, like in China, it's all those guys in China, like a guy you're familiar with, Joe Young. The dude was averaging like 50. I mean, not literally 50. I know he had like a game with like 70, where talent-wise, he's not too many guys in the NBA can check him. There's guys on NBA rosters that he's better than, but it's all about fit. And so I wonder, like with Jaden McDaniels, is it going to be a fit issue with him? Because if he doesn't improve as a decision maker, then a team isn't really going to give him the keys to the offense and allow him to make plays. And then if he's not a good enough shooter to where you can play him off the ball, then he fits in that weird mix. Because in today's NBA, it's like if you're like a volume scorer, but you're inefficient and you're not a playmaker, there's not a lot of roles for you.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, is he going to fall into that category?
He just needs a good system. And on top of a good system, he needs a team with good vets. That's one thing I think a lot of times the league, it's so much turnover sometimes. Teams don't have the vets that they used to have. So these young guys come in to a situation that they don't really have anyone to learn from, you know. It's valuing guys being married with kids, you know, just give you a different perspective on life, a different perspective on approach. I think that's part of the reason why the Spurs, when they were really, really doing it big, you know what I'm saying? Because they weren't trying to go to the hookah bar, you know what I'm saying, or go, you know what I'm saying, to a strip club. Like, they going home, family at home, kids at the crib. So I think that veteran presence could really do wonders for a Jaden McDaniels and some of these other guys. But like you said, who are the vets nowadays in the league that are actually grabbing some of these younger guys and pouring experience into them?
Yeah, and that's another podcast I want to do. You know, like maybe like right around draft time or after it's over, I want to dig deep into like the rosters because
let's do it.
I don't know. It might have been like Phoenix. Like Devin Booker might be the vet.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like 24.
Aaron Baines.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, I have a friend. It's off subject a little bit. But he was on that Cleveland team right after LeBron left.
Okay.
So he had a best friend that was drafted maybe a year after him, but his best friend went to OKC. And so he's out the league. His best friend has made over $100 million. And he says that, you know, he was young and they had no veterans. They were in this situation where LeBron was gone. The team was just, nobody cared. Everybody was just like, you know, we about to
it's a tough situation.
And he said he picked up all these bad habits while he said his friend was on the Thunder. And I mean, anybody, I guess people can do the math and figure out. The friend was Serge Ibaka. And so he was saying that, you know, Ibaka was on the team with Westbrook, Durant, Harden. Those guys was in, he said, even though they were in OKC, it wasn't like, you know, a live city, but you can get in trouble anywhere. But he said,
oh, absolutely,
those guys were in the gym. So if Durant's in the gym and Westbrook is in the gym, everybody else has to be in the gym, and you're being held accountable. And so,
and their vet was Nick Collison.
But even then, like,
I don't know the.
Yeah, I mean, they probably have some other vets on the team, but even then, those guys were so driven that, you know, they didn't necessarily need like a bunch of vets. Like,
absolutely.
They were really driven, and
they were gym rats. They were junkies.
Right. All of them have MVPs, and they're all going to be Hall of Famers. And
facts.
Yeah, and I just wonder, like, with some of these, and I don't want to just keep calling them kids, but they're like 18 or 19 years old, and you can go to the wrong situation in the wrong team, or, you know, if you go to a team where you're the best player on your team is your de facto leader, but he's a bad influence.
Yeah,
it can have an impact. But I'm gonna hold you to that, and we'll definitely do an episode on that. And I think I may have a friend of mine that's an agent come on, and he can talk about it from the agent's perspective. Because I even heard
let's do it.
last year an agent tell me he didn't want a player to go to a certain team. He's like, my client is impressionable. I know if he goes to that team in that city with no vets, he's not gonna last.
That's real. That's real. Like that's as real as it gets, and that's the inner workings of draft night that a lot of people don't truly understand. But sometimes players don't work out for certain teams because their agent is doing everything in their power to avoid that situation.
Yep.
And
that's true.
It's needed.
Yep. All right, let's go to number 10, Phoenix Suns.
Phoenix Suns, I think at this time in the draft and for their roster makeup, they need a 4. Obviously, the NBA being moving, like I said, to a small ball. I have Phoenix taking Patrick Williams. I think he is a perfect 4-man, modern-day 4. He can put on the deck. He can shoot it. He has the athleticism. He has the roughness, the toughness, the bang a little bit, got the big chest. He can elevate and go get the rebound, 2 hands. Like he's a power forward. You know what I'm saying? He just has a little bit more ability, and he's young. So it's like his upside is like you gotta at least see what comes about. But with that roster, I think Monty Williams done a wonderful job this past season. So I think it could be a really, really match made in heaven.
Yeah, I think that would be a good pick. I think that Williams is the modern day 4. I think like 10 years ago, he would have been a tweener, and he would have been low in the draft.
Been out the league.
But now it's funny, like tweeners are valued, and then the big, Vernon Carey's and Isaiah Stewart's, those guys that would have been top 5 picks, now they're at the back end of the draft. So the game has changed, and I'm curious to see what the next wave is. Like, what's the next jump?
Yeah.
Because it went small ball, and then threes. Then, at one point it was all isolation. Every team was drafting a foreign big that played like Dirk. Then before that, everybody wanted a volume 6'6" 2 guard that played ISO basketball. They're trying to find new Jordan. And so, I mean, I'm curious to see what the next wave is. But we're at like over an hour, right? So I want to ask a favor. I usually do Lotto, and then I'll do the second half of the Lotto. But this is going so well, I want to bring you on 2 more times. I want to break it down. You did your top 10. I want you to come back on. We'll do your second 10, and then we'll do, the third 10, and then we'll finish at 30.
We can do that, and that's perfect because I'm still comprising, and I do believe it's gonna change once the combine comes. Just being able to see where some guys measure out at with their anthropometry measurements, the reach, wingspan, how well they move, hand size, all of those things that I value. This is just going off the top of my head, kind of evaluating game fit to a roster. But once the draft come, I think it'll be – I don't think it'll change that much, but I do think it'll change some.
All right, yeah, let's do that. So hopefully you got time this week. We can do part 10. We'll do 11 through 20, and then we'll finish out the rest of the first round. So this is my guy, Alex Pugh. I like the perspective that he brings because he's bringing a perspective as a guy that's, scouting and evaluating talent, but he's also talking with a coach's mind. Like he's talking coaches speak that coaches talk about. Like he's the first one on here that was like, this player doesn't have a hot, he's not low in his stance and all that stuff. So I think that definitely gives us a different perspective. So I appreciate you coming on and talking basketball with me. But yeah, I'm just asking a favor, man. I need you to come on 2 more times. We got to break
Hey,
this.
you my guy.
All right.
Anything you need, I'm here for it, man. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, no problem. Yeah, we're going to break this into threes. But once again, it's Raphael, NBA Draft Junkies. Got my guy, Alex Pugh. We are out.